The Kentucky fans who traveled nearly 1,000 miles to see what this season might bring have not been disappointed. A talented group of returning players coming off a trip to the Final Four, mixed with the nation's top recruiting class, has resulted in 2 blowouts in 2 days. What will Game 3 of the Big Blue Bahamas Tour bring? Find out next. Just another day in paradise. Lexington South, Nassau, Bahamas. The Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium, the site of today's exhibition between the Puerto Rico National B team and the Kentucky Wildcats. Hi, everybody. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis, delighted to be with you for day 3 of the Big Blue Bahamas Tour. And if today is anything like days 1 and 2, Jay, Kentucky fans are in for a treat. 2 games against the country's national B team and a professional team from France, and an average margin of victory of 24.5 points, and it is awfully hard to pinpoint just one player to highlight.
No question. I'm not sure I could be more impressed with the way Kentucky's played, and with the depth and the talent and the size they've got, and still 2 guys out, Willie Cauley-Stein and Trey Lyles, that aren't playing on this trip. They're not even as good as they're going to be. They've played extraordinarily well. They've shared the ball. They've played hard defensively. They've been all over the glass. It's been really impressive.
As we take a look at today's starting lineups, I know that coaches are always looking for improvement and growth. Jay Billis, what will you be looking for today?
Well, I think just to continue on and to continue to play hard and play hard together. I think we've seen the same combinations platoon in and out, but they're playing against a team in Puerto Rico, their B team, that did not play well this first game. They got blown out, so I think they're going to look to try to set a tone at the start of this game and play much harder throughout the course of the game. So Kentucky's probably going to face a different Puerto Rico team.
You know, the depth of this Kentucky team is amazing, and they're even deep at coach. John Robick is serving as the head coach today. John Calipari says he does not want to coach the team for every one of these games, and so for the 2nd game in a row, he is turning it over to one of his assistants, John Robick, a man who's been with Cal since the UMass days. He joined him at Memphis and now Kentucky, and we are underway. Kentucky wearing the home white uniforms, and there is Cal sitting next to one of his assistants, Tony Barbee. And again, John Robick in charge of the team today.
Kentucky starting out in man-to-man. They have played mostly man in the first 2 games of this 6-game stretch, but played quite a bit of zone against Shalom Rem. Great backdoor cut.
And the layup by Gabby Bellardo, getting Puerto Rico on the board. Devin Booker will try the 3. Good-looking shooter. The shots have not fallen here in the Bahamas as of yet. And I think they're going to get a carry on Yesrel De Jesus.
De Jesus is an excellent scorer, averaged over 20 points per game in the Puerto Rico League last season. Very quick. He's small, but he is very quick and likes to get into the lane. Kentucky with a little bit of a sloppy start, turning the ball over and then taking a quick shot. Puerto Rico much more engaged than they were in the first game that these 2 teams played.
Aaron Harrison off the dribble, misfires, fought for by Dakari Johnson on the glass, and it's come down with by Matt Lopez.
Puerto Rico has 2 college players that are playing on this team. One of them, number 6, Matt Lopez, who is playing now at Rider. The other, Gary Brown, is at West Virginia.
And De Jesus, as Jay pointed out, can score the basketball. He gives Puerto Rico the 4-0 lead. Andrew Harrison right back at it.
I'm not sure that Kentucky came quite as ready for a fight as they did in the first game that they played against Puerto Rico, and they're getting a fight right now. The question is, can Puerto Rico keep this up for 40 minutes?
Harrison, left-handed layup will count, and he has a chance to complete the 3-point play.
Well, Kevin, that's what Andrew Harrison does best. Look at the hesitation when he takes on the big guy off that high screen. You come off a pick and roll as a guard. You don't have to blast off there 1,000 miles an hour. And that was a guard who now is a sophomore after having a very solid freshman campaign, but just not as good as some people wanted him to be. But Andrew Harrison came off there with good pace, hesitated, read the defense, and then took on Matt Lopez, the big that switched off on him, and showed his size, strength, and finishing ability with that left hand.
There is the man who is serving as head coach today, longtime John Calipari assistant John Robick.
a great X and O coach. Does a lot of the scouting and scouting reports for John Calipari, has for years. And knows the game as well as anybody.
We will be joined by John Calipari later on in the broadcast today. Ought to be a lot of fun to chat with him, get his impressions through 2 games up till this point of his Kentucky team and the depth and the star power on this squad.
That'll be his 3rd job in 3 days. He's gone from head coach to chief cameraman, and now he'll be head analyst.
As Puerto Rico turns it over, we got CalCam trending on Twitter yesterday. If you missed the broadcast, John Calipari, as Jay mentioned, took over the camera here at half court. Look at Jorge Otero, head coach of this Puerto Rico team.
Jorge Otero was not pleased with his team's performance in the first ball game here in the Bahamas. They did not play well. When the game got away from them, they kind of checked out. Had a 2-hour practice yesterday where they really tried to get back to what they do best and to focus on really challenging this Kentucky team. But
as Harrison stepped on the out-of-bounds line, it'll be Puerto Rico basketball. Well, a summary of that first game. It was tight in the first half. Again, it was the first game for both of these teams, but for Kentucky, really the first time they were playing together in a game situation as a full unit. But Jay, in the second half, they really wore down and took away the will of this Puerto Rico team.
Well, their defense, Kentucky's defense, was spectacular in the second half, and the defense taking a little bit of a hit in this ball game. Puerto Rico has been able to get angles to the basket, and Jezreel De Jesus able to drive it there on Andrew Harrison. That's where Harrison's got to step in front. He can't give that straight line drive to an opposing point guard. But thus far in this game, Kevin, Kentucky hasn't moved the ball as well as they've moved it in the earlier 2 games. Now, they've gotten a lot more resistance from Puerto Rico than they did in the first one, but we've seen them pass much better than they've passed thus far. It's still obviously very early, just a couple minutes in.
Well, speak to the mindset, Jay, both as a player from your great days as a player at Duke, but also an assistant coach at Duke. What's it like knowing you beat this very team by 25 points 2 days ago to get up for a game like this?
Well, first of all, I can't remember what it was like as a player. That's just too long ago. But I think for any team, moving on from a win is harder than moving on from a loss. You know, losses oftentimes get you motivated. When you win easy games, sometimes getting up for the next game is the harder thing. And we've seen Kentucky now turn the ball over. They have at least 3 turnovers, maybe 4.
Poitras attacking the rim. How about the athleticism by Alex Poitras?
John Calipari has said that Alex Poitras can now, as a junior, start playing like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist did in that 2012 championship season. And the first 2 games, he did exactly that here in the Bahamas. I've been as impressed by Alex Poitras' play as anybody on this Kentucky team. He's really played to his strengths.
Type of player that does not need the basketball to impact the game, the way that he attacks the glass, gets his hands in passing lanes, as they'll get a whistle and a foul on Aaron Harrison. And as we've seen so often in this exhibition, there'll be wholesale substitutions. But how about Poitras, Jay, and the athleticism?
Well, he's a finisher, and he's not a playmaker. He's a finisher. So if he runs and he rebounds and he cuts and he drives hard to the basket, he's going to be very, very productive. And you can see the 6 NCAA tournament games that Kentucky played last year in their march to the national championship game. Shot just under 70% because last year, like he's doing this year, he played to his strengths.
And again, 5 new players shuttling in for Kentucky, including the freshman Tyler Ulis, along with Carl Towns. Both of those freshmen have been so impressive in these first 2 games. You see Marcus Lee, Derek Willis in the game, as well as Dominique Hawkins.
I'm not sure anybody on this Kentucky team has played better than Carl Towns has played, number 12, the freshman. He's got size, he's got skill, a good passer. He's played 19 minutes a game, and he's averaging 14.5 points and 8.5 rebounds, leading Kentucky in both categories.
Ulis tries to drop it off. It's stolen away, but picked up by Towns. And less than 30 seconds into the game, Karl Towns is in the scoring column.
Andrew Harrison is going to play the starting point guard position this year. I mean, he's the best point guard that Kentucky has. But Tyler Ulis is going to come into the game and add a different dimension. He's really fun to watch, and he's going to be a big difference in this year's Kentucky team.
Nice to have those kind of options for John Calipari. And Big Blue Nation off to a hot scoring start. Cats in Puerto Rico tied at 7. We're back in Nassau, Bahamas, Kentucky, and Puerto Rico's national B team tied at 7 here. 15 minutes and 27 seconds remaining here in the first half. We have not seen two players on this Kentucky team that we expect to see quite a bit of this season. Willie Cauley-Stein and the freshman Trey Lyles. And Jay, they've both been practicing, doing some practice drills, but we see ice on the left knee there, left shin of Trey Lyles.
Trey Lyles got a little bit of a hot spot there. And that's something that you don't want to see turn into some kind of mild stress fracture, so they're keeping him out.
And we've talked about the impact that he may have on this team as the season progresses. A look at what's ahead here on the Kentucky Exhibition Tour. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the SEC Network brand new. You'll see games against the Dominican Republic and the French professional team, Chalon Rennes. SEC Network launching 6 p.m. on Thursday. A lot of excitement. There'll be a 3-hour show about all of the teams in the SEC coming your way. 6 Eastern as an offensive foul called against Marcus Lee.
Well, Kentucky doing a very nice job to reverse the ball and then look into the post. And this is a group of willing passers. They look to pass into the post, and the postmen, for the most part, don't just launch the ball up. They're willing to pass it back out. And Marcus Lee just made too strong of a move into the defender.
Jay, how about having a 6'9" player guarding the guy with the ball 30 feet from the basket?
Well, he's so athletic and so mobile. I mean, it's so nice for Kentucky to be able to switch so many different. You certainly don't want to have your 5-man switching off onto a point guard, but you know, with some of these lineups, especially the starting lineup that they had, Kentucky can switch positions 1 through 4, and that's a real luxury to be able to do that.
Whistle and a foul on Dominique Hawkins, his first. Already the 4th against Kentucky. And a look at the breakdown of the roster. 7 sophomores. For most teams, you'd call it a young team. John Calipari was telling us before the game, it's nice to have guys back.
Well, it's great because in practices, it's not just the coach's voice you hear all the time. You can tell the veterans to get into a drill, and the younger guys can get behind them, see how it's run. And it's not just a coach-directed team, it's player-directed. That's a nice thing to have.
Shot attempt by Matt Lopez is off, and Ulis saves it from going out of bounds.
And almost another unforced turnover.
Well, if you were seeing Tyler Ulis for the first time, he is an exceptional young player to watch, as is this guy, Karl Towns.
Kentucky with some full court pressure, and this team has this particular unit has pressed almost whenever they have been in, and have changed the tempo of each of the games that they've played in.
Gabby Bilardo picks up the dribble, down to 10 on the shot clock for Puerto Rico. DeJesus all the way to the rim, and a strong left-handed finish by Jezreel DeJesus.
He's got some quickness. I know he was trying to go around a big guy in Marcus Lee, but that's the second time. He did the first drive right in that same spot around Andrew Harrison earlier in the game.
Hawkins off the mark, and Puerto Rico wants to run.
I think the crowd wants to travel. Even when you give the ball up, you can go retrieve it as long as you don't try to advance it.
Lopez working on Towns. Left-handed jump hook, and he'll draw the foul.
Puerto Rico has been much more aggressive in this game than in the first game. And after the jump shot by Ulis, one of the things that Karl Towns does best is rebound. Got great hands. I was talking with Paul Biancardi, our ESPN recruiting expert. He and Reggie Rankin do such a great job of putting scouting reports together. That's one of the great things about ESPN's recruiting is they don't just rank the players. They give you these detailed scouting reports that are spot on. But he really raved about Towns and his understanding of the game, how skilled he is, and what a good passer he is. He moves well. He's got a great future ahead of him. His present is pretty good too.
Not bad, yeah. 1 of 2 free throws by Puerto Rico gives them the 1-point lead here.
Little 2-3 zone right now for Puerto Rico.
Lyles lobs it up, and Lee is there to finish it off.
Karl Towns helped make that play just by coming up to the free throw line. And that lifted the defense up, and Lee was behind it to be able to get right to the basket.
Off the drive, Carlos Lopez called for a traveling violation. Jay, I love what you said yesterday about Tyler Ulis. Some guys look, Tyler Ulis sees.
Got great vision, and he sees, it seems, a play ahead or at least a pass ahead. Kind of the old Wayne Gretzky thing. It's not where the puck is, it's where it's going to be. And he has a very good idea of where his teammates are going to be and where the action is going to be, and thinks and sees ahead.
And again, wholesale substitutions as Big Blue Nation giving a nice round of applause for the group that, well, let's call them the B squad, although I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case for the purposes of these games. They've been the second unit to come into the game.
They've been the unit that has ratcheted up the tempo, and they did it just in that period there. Kentucky went from being down to being up because they pressed full court. They changed the rhythm of the game and really went after Puerto Rico when Puerto Rico was throwing most of the initial blows in this game.
Alex Poitras headed back to the free throw line to shoot a pair. 63% free throw shooter from a season ago. He was Kentucky's 6th man, if you want to call it that, last year. Played in 40 games for the Cats.
He's been referred to as an energy guy, and I think that's a fair moniker to put on him. But boy, it's hard to be an energy guy. It is hard to bring energy, to play hard all the time, and to give maximum effort. And that's what Alex Poitras has been doing, and he's been really good here in the Bahamas. If that's an indication of the kind of season he's going to have, I think he's going to have a really, really good year. A good job by Andrew Harrison to stay in front of Andres Torres.
Here's the Jagus on the drive. Nice looking left-handed layup up and around to Corey Johnson. It'll stay Kentucky basketball when we come back. Puerto Rico the 12-11 lead, and when we come back, we'll go behind the scenes, all access with Coach Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis back with you from Nassau, Bahamas. Puerto Rico a 1-point lead on Kentucky. They've been playing exhibition games, but this trip is really about learning under head coach John Calipari now as we go all access.
Who do I want as a teammate? One, a guy that's positive and upbeat. I don't want a guy that's hanging his head and sulking and bad body language. Is that what you're saying? Really good. What was the second one? Really unselfish. What was the third one? He fights like hell. What was the fourth one? He's in the gym, man. This dude is like crazy. I love it. I'm going to go with him. Maybe he's got something here. The fifth thing, energetic, and he's got my back. Well, let me ask you something. If that's a guy you want to play with, could that be you? Can you be that guy?
And Jay, that is part of the message. I mean, it's such an amazing compilation of talent, but to get them to buy into the team concept as we've seen them do through these first 2.5 games is amazing.
It is, and they've been willing to buy into it. And I don't think it's taken a whole lot of convincing, but I think John Calipari and his staff have done a great job here of scheduling these 6 games in 8 days. It's really a learning laboratory for this Kentucky team. And you can see them Yeah, every night, 10 o'clock, they're watching film, looking to get better. They're without the normal distractions, if you will, that you would have, when you're in Lexington. And it's a great opportunity for this team. They've had a number of practices, I think 11 before they got here. They practiced once here, and then this is their third game. So this is a great opportunity and great springboard for growth.
Well, and it struck me when you said Alex Poitras is the energy guy. I mean, on most teams, he would be the go-to guy, right? And you've got a player like Alex Poitras who will in all likelihood one day play in the NBA. To buy into being the energy guy on a team where you've got so many other players who can do so many other things.
A little back and forth right now by the players. You can see that Puerto Rico was stung by how poorly they played in the first game, and they're trying to show a little bit more fight. There's a difference between showing fight and getting in a fight.
Right.
And the officials doing a good job of getting in the middle of that, and we'll just get back to playing ball.
And this may have been what got it going there. A little bit of elbow to the chops by Andres Torres.
So we're clearing space. That happens in international competition. Not everything's laid back here in the Bahamas.
Well, you've highlighted it. I mean, this is a team of Puerto Rican players who have played, who all play professionally with the exception of two who play Division I college basketball. And you're right, a 25-point loss the other day to a group of college players I'm sure did not sit well with this team. Harrison 1 of 2. Poitras, the energy guy, following it up for 2.
He can bring some things that many other players can't. And when we've talked about playing to his strengths, his strength isn't as a shooter or a guy that's going to get his own shot. But the things that he can do, very few others can.
Left-handed feed to Corey Johnson, no. Poitras yet again.
Alex Poitras may be a quote-unquote role player, but he has been a star in his role. And he has been the best player for Kentucky in this game because of how hard he has played. And look at that second effort. He's running the floor. He's defending. He's hitting the glass. He's enthusiastic. So you can sit and talk about saying, well, somebody's a better shooter. He's not the highest draft pick, whatever you want to talk about. He's been the best player because of how hard he has played.
And Jay, that has to be infectious, right? I mean, if you're a younger player on this team, Poitras is a junior, he's one of the elder statesmen. If you're a younger player and you're seeing him go after it like that, that has to rub off on you.
I think that's a great point, that it's contagious, that if you see those around you, your teammates sacrificing, you are more likely to join in and sacrifice. If you see others playing hard, you are more likely to play hard. If you see others showing mental and physical toughness like Alex Poitras has showed in this game, you are more likely to join in. Absolutely.
And you take a look at the last missed free throw by Harrison and the aggressiveness of Poitras to attack the glass.
Just working hard in that second slot and not surrendering to a blockout. Most of the time when you're the low guy, the defensive rebounder, those are the best rebounds to get when somebody misses a free throw because they're the easiest ones. When you got to block out somebody like Alex Poitras, they're not so easy.
Already 6 points and 4 rebounds in roughly 5 minutes on the floor. He's a part of the quote-unquote starting unit for now.
And they haven't had to run one play for him. He got that dunk in transition. He's gotten it off the offensive glass. Loose ball. So that has all been off of his activity, not off of some play that they've run in their half-court offense.
Kentucky remains in the man-to-man, although we have seen them play zone at times, particularly yesterday in the game against the French professional team. 3 on the way by Gary Brown. Slow start to this game for Kentucky, but they picked it up in the last 4 or 5 minutes.
They've been a little hesitant to pass the ball. I mean, they know where to pass it, but they've been a little bit hesitant.
3 on the way by Harrison. Off the mark, and it's Brown who comes down with it.
This size of Kentucky, these guards, Andres Torres is a smaller guard, as is Gary Brown. Gary Brown being guarded by Alex Poitras. It's tough to get a quick shot over that kind of length.
Torres has it stripped by Harrison. Cats have numbers. Devin Booker up and under, has it batted away. Nice defensive effort that time, Jay, by Carlos Lopez.
Well, Booker should have gone up on the left side of the basket. He tried to get over to the right, and that exposed the ball to getting it blocked by Carlos Lopez, who went to UNLV. If he would have stayed, gone up with that left hand and gone up to dunk it, or at least gone harder, he could have completed the play and got fouled. And now a 2-3 zone for Kentucky, which was so effective in yesterday's game against the French team.
Why?
Well, because of their length. Well, it changed the tempo of the game yesterday. But I didn't think the French team handled it very well, and that's not a good start for Puerto Rico with the way they handled it.
Puerto way off the mark as we're under 10 on the shot clock. Down to 6. Baseline jumper by Matt Lopez doesn't go, and now the Cats again will try to push. Harrison right down the lane.
Andrew Harrison has had some really good moments in the first 3 days of this trip. You asked why the zone was so effective yesterday and why it has a chance to be effective today. One is the size and the athleticism of this unit, but the other part is, it's the summertime, and I'm not sure that Puerto Rico spent a lot of time on their zone offense, so it's likely to be a little bit more effective just because they're not as prepared for it.
Gary Brown misses. Poitras tips it to Harrison. Here's Dakari Johnson going to work. And now Puerto Rico will run. Brown in transition, fouled on his way to the basket, and he'll shoot a pair.
That's the next step. Next step for this team is to work on transition defense, and for Dakari Johnson to show a little bit more poise in the post.
Andrew Harrison, one of the many weapons, part of a 9-0 run for the Cats. They lead it by 8 in Nassau. The crystal blue waters of Nassau, Bahamas, and Kentucky, Big Blue Nation, cheering on their Cats today. An 8-point lead, 7.5 minutes to go here in the first half. A reminder that ESPNU brings you coverage of the FIBA Under-17 World Championship quarterfinal. You'll see Team USA take on China Thursday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern on ESPNU. The game is also available live on Watch ESPN. Jay, if you had Team USA's Under-17 team and 84 points today against Japan, congratulations. You're cashing in a 122-38 win in the round of 16 today. And
that's following a gigantic win that the United States had over the Philippines, in which they out-rebounded the Philippine teams by 40. You get 40 more rebounds, you're usually going to win.
Size advantage. And we will chat with the CEO of USA Basketball, Jim Tooley, coming up at the half. Great insight on the state of USA Basketball, as well as the state of Paul George, who suffered that horrific leg injury in the senior men's national team exhibition in Vegas earlier.
USA Basketball, the best program in the world, top to bottom, #1 in the world at every age group, and for a time held the gold medal in every international competition, both men and women, from top to bottom. Amazing.
And I know your former coach and former boss, when you were an assistant at Duke, Mike Krzyzewski, the head coach of the men's senior team, has some decisions to make. And it's not going to be like years past, Jay. There's no Carmelo Anthony on this team, no Kevin Durant, no LeBron James. Not that the cupboard is bare, but you don't have those megastars to choose from.
It's more like 2010, where they took a very young and inexperienced team. I think it was to Turkey for it was called the World Championships back then. Now it's the World Cup of basketball. But in the rest of the World Cup is the most important basketball event. For us in the United States, it's the Olympics, but for the rest of the world, it's the World Cup. And we send our best players to the Olympics, and somehow our best don't seem to go to the World Cup. So it's a challenge for us.
As Derek Willis drills a three, Cats lead is back up to 9.
That was well-run offense.
And there's defense. Eulis forcing the turnover. Tyler Eulis. What a spark plug, Jay.
Well, DeJesus fell down, but one of the reasons he fell down was because of the, oh, look at that screen. That's got to be called out by Marcus Lee. Carlos Lopez just took out Tyler Eulis. That's one of those where the big guys feel really bad about it afterwards.
Eulis lobs it up, and Willis.
Eulis is a really good individual defender. Gets down in the stance, gets up underneath you. He's more than a pest, he's disruptive.
Big time two-handed flush by Matt Lopez, and the action is picked up here inside Kendall Isaac's gym.
Good pass inside by Willis. And now the ball is moving like it did the first couple games.
Hawkins was too strong, but Marcus Lee grabs the rebound, and he'll earn a trip to the free throw line. Jay, this is a learning experience for Kentucky basketball in more ways than one.
Well, the learning experience isn't so much for Tyler Eulis because he's guarding the ball. He can't see what's behind him. It's really for Marcus Lee. He's got to be up there calling that screen out. And if his guy can't hear him, then he's going to have to maybe take a foul to knock the screener out of the way. You can't let somebody take your point guard out like that. But to his credit, Eulis just popped right up and made the next play. Didn't change the expression on his face. The lights went out for a period of time, but they clearly went back on quickly. After you let your point guard get taken out like that, the look that they give you, I mean, it's kind of like when your parent is upset with you. They don't yell at you. They just look at you and you know how disappointed they are. Come on, man, call that thing out.
Exactly. Well, you have to imagine, not that John Calipari and his staff ever want to see that happen, but you have to imagine that part of this experience when the Kentucky staff drew this exhibition up was to go up against bigger, more physical, more experienced players like they're seeing here. Many of the players on this Puerto Rico team are professional players, and the communication has to be at a different level. As Jay pointed out, you don't want to see your freshman point guard, your distributor, going down like that.
Well, against anybody, but you know, Kentucky's getting much better competition than a number of the other teams that have come here to the Bahamas to play this summer. And Pittsburgh just left here. They won their games by an average of 51 points. Now that's great coaching by Jamie Dixon, but the level of play wasn't the same as Kentucky's facing here.
Downs is tripped up, turnover by Puerto Rico.
2-3 zone, but it's much smaller up top than that first rotation. Very big along the baseline, but smaller up top. So Puerto Rico can see over and perhaps shoot over of Hawkins and Eulis.
Now a whistle and a foul, and it's getting chippy down low between Carl Towns and Matt Lopez.
That was a double foul. Not a big fan of the double foul, but I'm told by a number of officials it's a useful tool for them. But I always think somebody fouled first. Nobody fouled. You don't foul at exactly the same time.
Matt Lopez will play his college ball this season at Rider after transferring from Utah State, getting into it with Towns as Eulis misfires. Towns aggressive on the glass again. Jay, it is so fun to watch a young player attacking the glass like that.
Well, Carl Towns was the Gatorade National Player of the Year last year. Out of Piscataway, New Jersey, went to St. Joseph's High School in Metuchen, where Jason Williams went to school, and just wouldn't give up on this play after going head-to-head against Matt Lopez and being physical, getting that double foul called. He just continued to go to work. And one of the things that has been really impressive about Carl Towns, not just his demeanor and the way he's gone about things and his skill level, but you can tell he's got a great work ethic. He comes to work in the games, and talking to Barry Rorson, who he was saying that he was blowing up his phone asking to work out. Hey, can you meet me at the gym? You know, let's get a workout in. Can you come? I want to shoot. Can I, you know, for a coach and a coaching staff to have your players want to get that extra work in, because to be a great player, it's not just the work you put in, it's the extra work, and Towns is willing to put in that extra work.
Well, Kentucky putting in the extra work defensively as they force another turnover on Gary Brown. I'm sure Jay, by the way, will quickly point out that, yes, he loves watching Karl Towns, the second best player to come out of St. Joseph High School.
Yes, right? I'm sure that Jay Williams will point that out right away.
Here is Towns. Oh, what a nifty spin along the baseline.
Kentucky bringing the pressure.
Brown gets it back, and now a 3-on-1 sloppy pass, and here comes Lyles. Hawkins lobs it up, and Willis there to finish once more.
Sooner or later in each of these games, Kentucky is going to go off on you. And this unit has been very successful in changing the tempo of the game and making it frenetic.
Young blows the dunk. Cats want to run again. Hawkins, this time to lead.
Not sure Sports Center has enough time for all these highlights.
And to the passing lane again by Kentucky. In the midst of an 8-0 run, and Jay, they've done it in explosive fashion.
And they've done it with defense. The great move in the low post. And how about Kentucky continuing to go to Karl Towns when he's hot, but in transition. Derek Willis and Marcus Lee. You know, sometimes you throw it up there, more than one guy's going after it, and all of them know how to finish.
Kevin Connors, Jay Billis, and our entire ESPN U crew here watching Kentucky open up a 17-point lead on Puerto Rico. They've gotten it done with talent in Lexington. And Jay, this last 2-3 minutes has been fun to watch.
Well, a top 10 nominee. It's one of about 7 or 8 plays from this game thus far in the first half. Still 3 minutes to go before halftime. And Kentucky, you can see with the outstanding recruiting they've done. That's a lot of 1s and 2s there. To have 6 recruiting classes and finish no lower than 2nd in the country means you're going to have enough talent to be able to compete with anybody. And Kentucky has done an extraordinary job of winning games over the last 6 years under John Calipari. I didn't think it was possible, frankly, with that many young players to do what they've done. It's been remarkable.
Well, we've talked about it throughout the broadcasts. 9 McDonald's All-Americans on this team alone. Now, Duke has 9 McDonald's All-Americans as well.
Most leagues don't have 9 McDonald's All-Americans.
Another alley-oop, and it's Poitras on the receiving end this time. Well, the Big 12 Conference has 7 as a conference, 7 McDonald's All-Americans. The Big 10 has 6. Kentucky has 9 on this team.
I mean, you could divide this team in half. Now, with Trey Lyles and Willie Cauley-Stein available, I'm talking, and you would have 2 top 20 teams. I really believe that. That's how talented this team is. The one thing that Kentucky may not have in as great a number as they've got everything else is it's not a great perimeter shooting team. Aaron Harrison is a terrific shooter. Devin Booker is a terrific shooter. I think Tyler Ulis can make open shots, but it's not a great knockdown perimeter shooting team. But when you see the size they've got, the fact that they can play inside out, that they shouldn't have to take challenge jump shots, I don't think that's going to be a big problem. They didn't have a great shooting team last year and got to the national championship game with a legitimate chance to win the whole thing.
Young on the drive. Second effort by Vajegas, who has not scored it like he did in the first game. It'll be Kentucky basketball. Jay, because Kentucky, I mean, we're really finding a warrant on this team as you take a look at some of the notables who play here for this Puerto Rican team. Because they don't shoot it necessarily as well as they do other aspects of the game, will that change the way teams will defend them this season?
Sure. I mean, some teams will try to play more zone because of the size that Kentucky has, but then you're talking about in the zone having to protect the offensive glass. And this is a team that can really offensive rebound. So it's not just the initial shot, it's the second shot you've got to worry about. So your first shot defense against Kentucky can be really good. But if you don't clean it up, you're giving up a high percentage second look. And this team really goes after the offensive glass.
Three-pointer by Vajegas, who was the top scorer for Puerto Rico. He has really not gotten going in this one. Kentucky a 19-point lead. Make it 22 after another three by Aaron Harrison.
Aaron Harrison made that shot. It wasn't a good one. It was off one pass under duress. That's one of those shots where if he missed it, I don't think his coaching staff would have been very happy with him for taking it. But basically any shot you make isn't usually that much of a problem.
DeJesus drills the three and then a whistle away from the ball. Couldn't really tell who they got it on. It may have been Dakari Johnson, but it was a whistle away from the ball. The three-pointer will count.
Yeah, Kevin Young's at the free throw line, so it's off the ball.
Reminder coming up at the half. We'll have an SEC football division prediction coming at you, as well as our conversation with Jim Tooley, CEO of USA Basketball, and first half highlights, which the toughest job in this game for our crew, Jay, might be trying to whittle that down to about a 1-minute feature. Another three by Aaron Harrison.
See, that was a great shot because it was not under duress. It was a wide open three, and anytime he gets a wide open three, that's a good shot.
That's a good shot as well by Vajegas. Second straight three-pointer made by Puerto Rico, and John Robic will take a timeout. Well, a reminder that the SEC Network launches Thursday, 6 p.m., and you'll see the first live game broadcast come your way on Friday, 1 Eastern. Dave Neal is going to take the headset from me. He'll work with Jay on the game against the Dominican Republic. Ought to be fun to see that roster. Edgar Sosa, former Louisville star, as well as Francisco Garcia, former Kentucky star, Eloy Vargas on that squad as well, along with one of the really good international players, Jack Michael Martinez. You'll see games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the SEC Network, 1 Eastern.
Well, it looked like Puerto Rico had come prepared for a fight in this game. Really started off well, but Kentucky just ran straight past them. Now, that was the questionable three because it was under duress from Kevin Young. This one a much better shot in rhythm from his brother Andrew. And when Aaron Harrison takes an open three in rhythm, well, he can really drill it. And the three shots, huge shots that he hit in the NCAA tournament last year against Louisville, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Just phenomenal. Most players don't get one of those in a career. He got three of them right in a row.
Johnson against the zone, dropped it off to Poitras, who is fouled on the dunk attempt. Jay, you made a great point during the game yesterday that in many instances this season, especially in the early part of the season, Kentucky's main motivation may not necessarily come from the other team, but the other unit. I mean, the five players that we've seen at times trying to compete with what the other five have done at different times.
Yeah, I'm not sure during the year whether we'll see this strict platoon, 5 in, 5 out type of playing, but I do think that every day in practice is going to be a fist fight for playing time. And you know, I do think that this team, they have, it seems, such good guys. Their body language has been great. The bench has been so supportive of everything good that's happening. They seem to really support each other, that I think they can compete like crazy in practice. And then when the coaching staff makes a decision on who plays, whether it's who starts, who's in a game at a particular time, that this is the type of group that will unite and move forward together. Now, that's easy to say, but it's hard to do. But this team seems like it's really a together group.
Down to 5 on the clock. Belordo feeding Narvaez down low. The layup does not go down. Narvaez to beat the buzzer, and it doesn't happen. Well, it started off a competitive game. Puerto Rico bringing the fight to Kentucky, but as this first half wore on, the Wildcats poured it on. A 20-point halftime lead, 46-26. We'll send it to the studio with a halftime report coming up after these messages. One of the great vacation spots in all the world, the Bahamas. We're in Nassau enjoying the Big Blue Bahamas tour and a dominating first half by Kentucky. 46-26, they lead the Puerto Rico National B Squad. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis back with you. Jay, it wasn't a perfect first half, but it was awfully close for Kentucky. They were so good defensively, so good offensively. It got chippy at times, but this is all part of the learning experience for this young Kentucky team.
In a word, wow.
Yeah.
Kentucky really wowed us and Puerto Rico and everybody in the building. You mentioned it got a little bit chippy, the pressure that Kentucky was able to put on. And look at that screen by Carlos Lopez to take out Tyler Ulis. It wasn't called out, but Kentucky really responded positively to the physical nature of the game. And they had dunk after dunk after dunk. Many in transition after doing a really good job on the defensive end to get a turnover, a quick rebound, and go the other way. And everybody got involved. But I thought early in the game, Alex Poitras set the tone with how hard he played. That Kentucky did not get off to a great start. They weren't moving the ball in the same fashion that they had in the first two games in this trip to the Bahamas. But you can see 18 of 30 in the first half. Couple of jump shots by Aaron Harrison, but other than that, those were all right at the rim, dunks, layups. It was really an impressive performance, especially defensively by Kentucky.
I asked you, what could you possibly have to say to your team when you lead by 20 points and you play as prolifically as Kentucky did? But you pointed out that there are still plenty of opportunities for learning experiences for this team.
No question. Moving the ball and to get the ball inside, play inside out. I think that Kentucky is going to concentrate on smaller areas where they can improve rather than looking at the macro of, hey, we got a 20-point lead and let's preserve the lead. All that. They're not talking about that. They're talking about playing this next segment, this next 4 or 5 minute segment with this unit, about continuing to put the pressure on, about running good offense, and about doing the things in each possession that's going to make them a really good team down the road. This isn't about this game. This is about the season.
By the way, if you're just tuning in, John Calipari has not been thrown out of this game. He's just not coaching this exhibition. John Robick, one of his longtime assistants, is serving as the head coach, as Kenny Payne did yesterday, and we'll be joined by Cal coming up here in just a bit in the second half.
Kentucky has operated out of this horn set with some different actions out of it, and when they've run it, it's been successful. They've been most successful when they've been able to create turnovers and havoc and take it the other way.
As Ulis drills a three, we saw him yesterday, Jay. He has the ability to knock that shot down.
Yeah, you play off him, and he can hit an open shot. You play up on him, and he is quick. He can get around you and get into the lane and use that vision to make a really good pass.
All-the-way jumper misfires by Belordo, and again to catch the relentless pressure.
Kevin Young and Marcus Lee going after it. Looks like Kevin Young's going to pick up the foul. Carl Towns almost pulled the trigger on that three-point shot in transition. You can see if you go underneath the screen, which Jezreel De Jesus did right there, he went underneath that ball screen. Ulis made him pay by hitting that jumper.
Nice defensive play that time by Young as Kentucky tried for another highlight play, but we may see one here. Marcus Lee.
Kentucky going to keep up the pressure, at least with Tyler Ulis. He can pick up 94 feet on every play. He doesn't have to play 40 minutes, so he can really go after it.
Boy, the Jagus has it battered away, and Jay, there are times where it seems like there's 6-7 defenders on the floor for Kentucky.
Well, their length and athleticism is really remarkable. And I know we've said it a number of times, but it bears repeating as Marcus Lee makes that steal to take it the other way. But this is without Trey Lyles, the freshman, and Willie Cauley-Stein, the junior.
Right. I mean, to your point, the fact that they're doing it defensively without the guy who, in Cauley-Stein, is their best defensive player, and the freshmen are playing so well, and Lyles is the highest rated of all the freshmen.
Well, that's the thing. As good as Kentucky's been, and they've been very good, they can be better. I mean, you'd almost have to be better with Willie Cauley-Stein and Trey Lyles in the lineup. And I anticipate that they will be throughout the course of the year. I mean, to start the year, Lyles almost took that away. He keeps his head right on the ball, and he anticipates. It just brings a different dimension on both ends of the floor.
Here's Vajagas, nice offensive move, but the shot doesn't go down. And Jay, I mean, at some point, I don't care if this is an exhibition or not. I mean, at some point when teams are throwing alley-oop after alley-oop on you, I don't know if we've seen it just yet, but at some point it's demoralizing.
Well, I think it's past that point. You wonder a little bit, though, is, Puerto Rico gave up in the first game. And I would hope they wouldn't do the same thing here. Look at that move.
Downs tries the three. Second effort by Lee comes up short.
Kentucky's gotten some second shots, but Puerto Rico has not. It's been 1 and out for Puerto Rico. And when Kentucky's got the rebound, they've made quick outlet passes to get out on the break. Jorge Otero, he would like his team to play better. I'm sure he thinks they're capable of better. But this Kentucky team is awfully good.
Gallardo off the mark, and it's Towns there again. 1 and done for Puerto Rico. How about the fact that the Cats have looked so good offensively throughout much, not all, but throughout much of these 3 exhibitions, Jay, and they're doing it really without having installed any real sort of offense.
Yeah, they've installed some different actions. They've gone basically out of one set. They call it a horn set. You have 2 big guys on the elbows and 2 guys in the corners, and they're all different kinds of actions they can run out of it. But they probably haven't been as efficient as they can be in their half-court offense, but they've been so good in transition, so good defensively, that they haven't needed to be ultra efficient in their half-court offense. That's something that'll come. I don't think you expect on the 11th of August to be ultra sharp with your half-court sets.
Here's Marcus Lee to the free throw line, sophomore out of California, played his high school ball at Deer Valley High School. I think this has been the best of his 3 exhibitions that we've seen so far.
No question. And he's had some really good moments in the first 2. He played some of his best basketball in the NCAA tournament last year. And picking up where he left off there.
One of the 7 sophomores on this Kentucky team. As he will stay in with the first unit here, missing on the second. Poitras remains at the scorer's table as the Harrison twins, Dakari Johnson and Devin Booker, shuttle back in for the Cats. Here's Carlos Lopez. Good head fake and a chance to complete the 3-point play.
So pick and roll on the open side. The help just a little bit late getting there.
Well, a 23-point lead here in the second half for Kentucky. When we come back, John Calipari will join us live here at the broadcast table. We're back in paradise. Kentucky a 53-30 lead over Puerto Rico's National B squad. A 23-point lead, 15 minutes, 58 seconds to go here in the second half, and we are thrilled to be joined by the man who has had a pretty good view of his team for the past 3 days. 1 from the sideline and the past 2 from the top row here at Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium. John Calipari, how would you describe, Coach, what you've seen here in the first 3 games?
I'm pleased. I'm pleased because they're competing against good talent, and 2, they're sharing the ball. I mean, they're really creating good opportunities. We worked for 10 days on these kind of things, and I said, look, we're not going to be as organized as we want to be, but we're pretty organized. I mean, and that's because Andrew and Tyler both of them are doing a great job of running this team.
You know, before we got here, you had mentioned, both you and your staff had said, we work primarily on offense. But your defense has been really good, both in man-to-man and the short stints you've played in zone. Don't you think this can be a special team defensively?
Well, you see that? That's a special team. That's a special team right there making that play. But here's what I would say to you. I never, throughout September or summer, do anything defensively. The season's too long.
Right.
I want to make them feel good about playing. I want to get them to feel good about themselves. We have enough time for defense. We're a good defensive team because we're long and we're pretty quick and active. So you can make up for it. There's what I want to see Andrew do.
Devin Booker drops it off to Corey Johnson.
I want Andrew. He's doing so much better pushing that ball with a speed dribble, throwing it ahead. You know, and I've been pleased. Again, I think our big guys, whether it be Dakari, Marcus Lee, Carl, they've all played well.
Right, you've got quick outlets.
Look at his pass
got that
ahead.
Rebound.
Look at this.
Quick outlet.
Look at that. Oh, man. Who is that kid? That Allen. How much better has he gotten?
Well, he's been, you know, we made the point earlier in the game that, you know, we talk about him being an energy guy and being, some people say role player, but he's been a star in his role. And he's been as good as anybody you've had. He's brought incredible energy.
Right, and again, our 4 and 3 are basically the same positions. You're seeing him guard guards, guard wings. But I almost need him to start playing a little bit, you'll think I'm crazy, as though he's a 2, because I want him to handle the ball more. I want him more one-dribble pull-ups, getting shots off, because I want him more comfortable. Now, you literally got 4 guards on the court at one time, if we can have that, with him playing that way. And the best thing he's doing right now, one, obviously offensive rebounding, but defensively, he's never played this way. He's never been able to be that active, stay in front of his man, block shots, do the things he's doing right now.
A function of being a junior?
Absolutely. And you know what? You know, everybody will talk about this one and done or 2 years. Every kid is on their own path.
Right.
Don't, like I say, it's not a failure that you got to school for 2 or 3 years. It's your path. It's what happens at the end of that path. So, yes, we've had guys go #1 and max deal, but we've had other guys stay 2 years and they're doing well. Other guys stay 3 years. We've had guys stay 4 years and do well. So he was on a little different path, and that's why it's important for me to see he and Willie shine, because it's taken him a little longer. Nothing wrong with that. You know what it is? They're normal. Right. How about that?
Normal.
They're normal.
Guys, let me interrupt for a minute here. Enough of this basketball talk. You know, if the coaching thing doesn't work out, I think that you have a future coach in working as a cameraman.
Look at my thumb. Do you see my thumb moving over there? I had no idea what I was doing. The zone, yeah, they're trying to teach me. Look. And I want Norby to understand I need to be paid for that. I'm doing color right now. I want to be paid for this. And we all know how cheap ESPN is. So Norby, I'm looking for the concierge room where you guys are giving out cookies and stuff. I don't even find it down here. What's ESPN doing?
Hey, you can't live on our per diem.
You know, you've got so many talented players on this team, and as we talked about, we haven't seen Trey Lyles, and we haven't seen Willie Cauley-Stein. What's your biggest challenge going to be as a coach this season?
When you have, and I've had to coach 9 and 10 guys before, probably they hadn't been this talented top to bottom. But you got to keep anything from sabotaging what we're doing right now, because every one of these players is shining. You don't need 40 minutes to prove who you are. And if we can play kids between 18 and 23, 24 minutes, and everybody feel fulfilled with that, this stuff gets scary now. But I told Willie and Trey today, do you see how hard we're playing? Do you see how we're sharing the ball? You're going to have to come back with that attitude, because that's how you're going to fit into what we do.
One of the things that has impressed me most about this group, you know, you mentioned the one and done thing and how the stereotypes people may have of college basketball players now that are super talented. Your guys have been extraordinarily supportive of one another on this trip.
This has been, if you watch our bench, Jay, it's been the best part of it for me. And again, you got everybody, oh, geez. Trying to dunk it left-handed. I don't think that was the best thing to do. But you got everybody really cheering for the other guys. And that's what this has got to be about. And again, though, you wonder why I'm not coaching. Too long a season for me to be into this right now. I'm evaluating. I practiced it 10 times, but the other thing is I like my assistants. Kenny did a great job yesterday. That's a great job there by Devin Booker to pass up a shot. John Robick today. Slice Barry Rossum will be coaching when we get back, and Kenny will coach again. I'm going to coach. I'm going to take the next one on the chin for the staff. I'm going to do the Dominican Republic game. So that team is a little different. They're really good. It's going to be interesting.
How about the way your team shoots the ball, your perimeter shooting? And Devin Booker's an excellent shooter. He's not shot it as well as he's capable yet. He's rushed a few of them. Aaron Harrison, an outstanding shooter. And Tyler Ulis has shown that if you go under a screen, he's going to knock one down.
He can make shots. I mean, you and I know one of the ways that people try to play us is they're going to try to play zone. And you know what? If you're making shots, it's a hard thing to do, especially with our size, because we can throw it inside. And even if you stop us, we're going after that second rebound. Here's what we've been working on, though. The biggest thing is we want to come at you both ends. Get it in as quickly as we can, push it ahead as quickly as we can, and then defensively we want to do this stuff. Now we scramble. Watch us scramble. And everybody's running this way. Oh, man. Little look away. I'm not into look away passes. It's a good job, though.
Coach, we talk about a player development so often. I'm curious to know, as you get ready to begin your 6th season now in Lexington, what have you learned about yourself? About yourself?
I age quickly in these situations. That's the one thing. I'll tell you that you change in this regard. I'm in a situation where there's a stage at Kentucky that's like no other, and we've been able to help 19 kids in 4 years become drafted, help their families reach their dreams. And I'll tell you, it's like it doesn't look like it's going to stop. Like we can, like you look at this team, you got a lot of kids here that are going to reach their dreams. Now, can they get into our team during the season? Can they get into just solely winning? Can they get into each other, which means all of them will shine even more? That's my challenge here. But I'll tell you, it's the funnest part of this for me. Yeah, we want to win and we want to win championships and all that. But when you see those kids reach their dreams and their families, there's something to it. I mean, there's, as much as anything we do, that's fulfilling to me.
We're going to ask Coach to stick around. We'll take a timeout. More from Big Blue Bahamas coming up after this. Back in Nassau, Bahamas, Kevin Connors, Jay Billis, and the head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, John Calipari, kind enough to join us. 63-37, the Cats lead Puerto Rico midway through the second half. A look at the non-conference schedule for Kentucky. We know that the conference schedule will be announced here in just a few days. Live on the brand new SEC network with some of the teams that the Cats will play on the non-conference schedule. Kansas in the Champions Classic. It'll be a showdown with Texas in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. North Carolina, UCLA, and Providence as well. Not to mention the showdown with Louisville. Coach, how about that non-conference schedule? As good as you've had since you've been at Kentucky?
You know what? I think they've all been pretty good. You can't play a top 10 team every game. Our fans kind of want us to, but you just can't. But I think we challenge our kids. And the other thing that's different for us, we don't know who's coming back year to year. So it's hard to put out that kind of schedule and then lose your whole team. It's not fair to your team.
I'm curious to get your thoughts. I saw some video earlier this summer, and I'm curious to know if the player that you got to see has the most potential out of anyone that you've seen this summer. And that's Ronnie James, LeBron James' son, who was in an AAU tournament in Lexington. What was it like watching LeBron's son play?
He and Bryce. I was rebounding for Bryce. It's funny. Their dad was in there coaching them and going nutty. It was fun to watch. You know, it's fun. It doesn't matter, you know, where you're telling the father, don't try to coach your son. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to try to coach your son. And believe me, he was coaching his son. Move, Ronnie, move. Cut, give him the ball. It was funny.
John, what kind of dimension does Tyler Ulis bring to the team? I mean, he's a smaller guard, but he can really change the game with how he can pick up full court and get up underneath you and pressure the ball.
And he'll deliver balls for shots and really change the complexion of what everybody's looking at. There's a nice play. Nice left-handed throw. You know what's amazing with Derek Willis? He throws the lob better with the left hand than he does the right. If he gets it to his left hand, he can do it. But what Tyler does, how about when you go to the bench and you're bringing him in? There's not a drop-off. It's a step up, and it's a step up in energy. It's a step up in you know he's going to go play. Watch him push it. Watch this. Watch him push. Watch. Give it to the guy. That's what he does. You know, he's going to give it to you in a place where you can score. You know what your team does? Everybody runs like crazy because you think you're getting the ball.
I was saying yesterday, it's a 5'9" ball of incentive to run the floor because he's going to get it to you.
Yes. And Andrew's doing the same now. You know, the thing with Andrew is he can bully you a little bit because of his size. Give it up.
Oh, there was a right-handed pass.
No look.
Yeah. And one more pass. Again, we're trying to get them to have one pass follow another. Pass. That's what we're trying to get them to do, and they're doing much better. By doing that, if somebody's trying to play lanes, then what we're doing is trying to, you know, one pass and drive. Hands were down, Tyler. Tyler's size got to get those hands up.
And Barry Larson, one of your assistants, was saying that was the first drill that you did in your first practice, emphasizing the extra pass, saying one more.
Yeah, but the guy without the ball, Jay's got to say that.
Right.
So as it's coming to me, I know you're open. Into a pick and roll. There you go. There it is. Now look for the ball. That's a great shot there. It's a great read. Now, again, I've got 2 point guards who are terrific. I can play both together. Late in the game, I can have them both on the court together. There are times if I want to change up so that Andrew's ahead to attack, you know, you put them both in together. Again, you know, you just watch. He's looking. Who's he throwing to?
Head is always up.
Yep. Dominate. Oh, Derek Willis out of nowhere. Diddy. How about him? I love it when he smiles. Get a smile on your face, kid.
Don't you think about teams that have put 5 players in the NBA? If you compare just the talent on this team with some of the others that you've had at Kentucky, where does this group stack up?
Until this season's out, you really don't know. I mean, when you talk about we've had 5 first-round picks in 2010, we had 6 picks in 2012 with Michael Kidd and Anthony Davis 1 and 2. None of that stuff has ever been done. Why don't we try to get 7, 8 guys drafted? Why not? I mean, what? Now I'm going to have to replace a team, and I worry about that. But you know what? Again, wouldn't that, if we got to that point where 7 or 8 of these guys get drafted, you know what had to happen for us as a team? What?
You won.
Yeah, you had to win like almost all the games and won the last one, and they look so good that but it's how it's supposed to work. What we're trying to do is kind of, we flip the script a little bit, which is, let's worry about them. Let's develop them, and they will drag us where we're trying to go as a program and our fans. And I think our fans have bought in to what we're doing. Hey, 3.0 grade point average for 4 years, graduated 10 players, 3 went to the NBA and graduated, 3. It wasn't at the expense of academics, but it's helping them reach their dreams.
Well, it's been a terrific start to this Big Blue Bahamas tour. Coach John Calipari, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
And we're back in Nassau. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis. Fun chatting with John Calipari, head coach of this Kentucky basketball team, who is not coaching this one. He's turned it over to John Robick from the get-go. He's been watching this game from the stands and right here at our broadcast table as well, watching his team, Jay, open up a 33-point lead.
His 3rd job in as many days. Head coach, cameraman, color analyst.
As Poitras just erases that shot by Andres Torres.
As we finished up our time with John Calipari, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist came up right behind him, and he had been comparing Alex Poitras to Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and all of a sudden he just shows up. That's pretty good.
How about him saying, I mean, you talk about We marveled a few years ago when they had 5 players from the same team drafted in the first round, and Coach Cal thinking maybe why not 7 or 8, and it's not crazy to think, Jay, that that's a possibility.
Well, it is a possibility. I'm not sure it'll happen, but yeah, he's brought in talent and great player after great player, highly rated high school player. But more impressive than the haul of McDonald's All-Americans that he's had annually has been how he and his staff have got that crew to play together. And that's the hard part. And to get such a young team every single year, and this year's a little bit of an exception. He's got 4 ultra-talented freshmen coming in, but he's got older players, which he hasn't had perhaps since 2010 or 2011. And that allows him to do even more. He's going to have leadership from the players instead of just from the coaches that he has to develop in the players. It's already there to start. And that's a nice head start to have for a really good basketball team. And I think we're going to see really good things from Kentucky, not just because of their talent, but because of some of the other things we're talking about.
As Poitras finishes, and you got a chance to see Michael Kidd-Gilchrist on the bench. One of the players in the rotation for the newly named Charlotte Hornets, no longer the Bobcats.
Yeah, the Charlotte Hornets going back to the future.
Right.
They're originally called the Charlotte Hornets, going back to the purple and teal look.
And that's a big deal. I mean, that, as you well know, you live in Charlotte. Johnson finishing things off. That's a big deal. That city really embraced the Hornets and the success that they had with the Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning era.
And they'll sell a lot more gear now. But they've done a really good job. Steve Clifford's done a great job since he's been there. Rich Cho coming in as the general manager. They've made a lot of terrific strides over the last couple of years. Went to the playoffs last year.
Narvaez an opportunity for the three-point play, and the unselfishness of this team, Jay, has kind of been the hallmark through the first 3 games.
Well, they've gotten rebounds and then passed an outlet out quickly, and you heard John Calipari talk about Andrew Harrison and his ability to push the ball up the floor. But in addition, he talked about the ability to pass ahead, and the ball moves faster than you can dribble it. Moves faster in the air, so you pass ahead. This Kentucky team can really run. They can get a lot of easy baskets.
Narvaez, the air ball attempt on the free throw.
Well, nobody has gotten 60 yet on Kentucky, and they've had enough possessions to do it. And it doesn't look like Puerto Rico is going to be able to crack 60 if Kentucky keeps guarding in this game.
Harrison off the drive. Kept alive by Poitras. How many times have we said that? And whistle a foul on Gary Brown that time.
You get that high screen and roll. And when Andrew Harrison comes off that, he's read things very well. He's not gone 1,000 miles an hour. But when that shot goes up and the defense is in rotation, the offensive glass is wide open, and Alex Poitras has taken advantage of it. And he's not the only cat that has been all over the glass. This team can really rebound.
Well, Jay, we talked about the Kentucky players who have gone pro, and John Calipari mentioning that the possibility of 5, 6, 7 players getting drafted. I know you've talked about this a lot before, but there's a hot topic in the NBA that Commissioner Adam Silver might be interested in raising the age limit to 20. Where do you sort of stand on that?
I think it's great. I mean, it's an NBA decision to make, but I tend to think it's better for players to stay in school longer. That it's better for the NBA, it's better for the college game. I think it's better for the player. I think you're more prepared when you get there. But it's more not necessarily for every individual, but as a policy, for league-wide policy, I think it's a smart policy to have. But it's something that's going to have to be negotiated with the Players Association and agreed to between the league and the NBAPA.
Do you think that'll happen?
I do. I think it will, but it's going to be a period of years before it does. But the NBA is going to have to give something up. You know, the players aren't going to agree to it just because the NBA thinks it's a good idea. The NBA is going to have to give up something that they value to the players in order to get that. Good job by Andrew Harrison, getting a lot of pressure from Andres Torres. He stayed low and used his body, which he's got a big body. As we get down to the end of this game, you worry a little bit, at least you're concerned that you don't want this thing to get chippy. And So the Kentucky players have to protect themselves. If they're going to the basket, you don't want to go off of 1 foot. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you can get knocked on your back.
And I think you saw some frustration on the face of Andrew Harrison, who has been mixing it up a bit throughout this game with Andres Torres. Like, look, it's an 83-47 game. Maybe it's time to avoid some of those physical reach-in fouls at this point.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, these players, they're both sides are competing. And while Kentucky wants to keep playing, these guys have only got so much time on the floor. They want to take advantage of it. It's no fun for Puerto Rico to be getting dunked on in the full court and to see this movie over and over again. And they've been great. They've not reacted, but you certainly don't want to see that kind of thing. When Andrew Harrison just went out of the ball game, he has played very well.
Now the tip in by Narvaez. You're right, Jay. I mean, we've highlighted the play of Tyler Ulis and Carl Towns and certainly Alex Poitras. And that's not to overlook what the Harrisons have done, because you're right. We've talked about the improvement that you've seen just in these 3 games alone from last season.
Yeah, Andrew Harrison's the point guard of this team. Tyler Ulis is going to be, in my judgment, going to be the backup. But he's going to bring a lot of great things to this team that Kentucky has not had. I think you're looking at the starting point guard for the Wildcats right there in Andrew Harrison.
85-49 as you take a look at Nassau, Bahamas. The Wildcats well in control of this one. We're back in Nassau, Bahamas. Kentucky, the 86-49 lead on Puerto Rico in the 3rd leg of a 6-game Big Blue Bahamas tour. And we want to remind you that the most storied conference in college athletics has a brand new home. ESPN brings you the SEC Network, launching Thursday. The SEC Network will feature over 1,000 exclusive live events, including 45 football games and 24/7 coverage of all 21 conference sports. Go to GetSECNetwork.com. Tell your TV provider you don't want to miss out on the action. And the schedule is already scripted. It launches this Thursday, 6 p.m. SEC Now. You'll hear again from Coach John Calipari. He'll be live from the Atlantis during SEC Now. 9 Eastern, it's SEC Storied. And then Friday, Dave Neal and Jay Billis on the call of Kentucky versus the Dominican Republic.
The best of Alabama starting at 2 a.m. That could go all the way to 1 p.m. to the start of our game. And followed by the Paul Feinbaum Show, which is a fabulous radio show. Paul does such a great job.
He does. Wildly popular in SEC country as Puerto Rico, can I say, trims the lead to 34?
John Calipari before this trip had said if his team won 2 games of the 6, they'd be lucky. Well, I don't think anything this team does is going to have anything to do with luck. This is a team worthy of cutting the nets down at the end of this thing. Not the end of this trip, the end of the college basketball season.
Do you think that, I mean, is that coach speak, Jay, or do you think that he really believed that they would have trouble winning more than 2 games?
I think it's probably a little bit of the former. John has been pretty good over the years and messing with minds. Remember last year when he said before the tournament that they'd undertaken a tweak, and he had all of us going back and watching film. I wonder what the tweak is. What did they do offensively? What did they tweak? And he didn't tell anybody what it was. And then at the end he says, I just told him to pass it more. It was one of those things. He had all of us on synergy, looking at tape and going over things, and he loved it.
We'll see E.J. Florial check into the game for Derek Willis.
Now, I didn't agree that winning 2 games would be lucky, but I have to admit I did not see Kentucky absolutely dominating everyone like they are. I mean, these have not even been competitive games. They've been competitive for a 3 or 4 minute stretch here or there, or maybe yesterday there was a competitive first half where the French team was within 7 or 8. But over the course of a 40-minute game, none of these teams, Puerto Rico nor Champaign, Chalon, Rheims, have been able to hang with Kentucky in any way, shape, or form. It's been 3 consecutive domination games.
Right, we're on the same page. I mean, neither of those teams are the San Antonio Spurs, but to break the will of professional basketball players for a team that's playing in their 3rd game. I think that's the remarkable part of this trip.
No question. And when this Kentucky team gets into regular season competition, there are a lot of college teams that are going to have a hard time staying with this team. Most of them. Now there are going to be a few out there that are going to be able to hang with Kentucky, and if they play really well, beat them. But that's not going to be a very long list. And Kentucky's going to have to help them a little bit.
Todd Lanter checking into the game for Tyler Ulis, whose day is likely done. Another sparkling effort from the freshman, who will excite college basketball all season long. I mean, there's some sort of affection for a smaller player like Tyler Ulis, but the way he plays the game, his ability to pass it, get others involved, play defense, even shoot the basketball, is going to be fun to watch him develop, as it is with so many of the players on this Kentucky team throughout the year.
Yeah, you pointed that out, the affinity that people seem to have for smaller players. That I've always hated the discriminatory attitude that folks have for the bigger player like me. It was totally unfair.
And that's carried over in the broadcast, right? Yeah.
It has. I think that the public prefers the smaller broadcaster, and it's totally unfair.
Todd Lanter drills a 3, and Big Blue Nation responds to that.
You know, Todd Lanter, E.J. Floreal, those guys every day in practice give the same effort, and the walk-ons do a tremendous job. It's nice to see them get rewarded in game time.
Floreal the layup. There's no telling how many minutes those guys may play this year, Jay, with the quality that there is on this team.
You know, Kevin, at the start of the game, you asked, could there be a kind of a letdown in this game playing against a team that you absolutely drilled in the first game on this trip? And I think after putting up 93 points with 1:15 to go, the answer is it's not going to be that big of a problem. They answered that question emphatically, didn't they? Really an impressive performance.
Well, there's no doubt about it. And on both ends of the floor, as you pointed out several times, I mean, the game has been in garbage time now for about 10-12 minutes, and Puerto Rico still has just 54 points. Towns will try the 3. I'm not sure he got the elevation that John Calipari wanted to see on the 3. That's something that Cal talked to us about. He said he wanted to see, rather than the calf raise on the jumper that Towns has shown taking the deep 3, as another one goes down for Puerto Rico. Raul Orta that time.
This has been almost start to finish. There were a couple minutes where Puerto Rico was hanging with Kentucky, but what a dominant performance by what is and can be a great college basketball team this season. The Kentucky Wildcats are legit.
Well, we started the broadcast by saying that it's hard to pick just 1 or 2 individuals to highlight off the top of the broadcast, and it was the case again today. Both Aaron and Andrew Harrison were outstanding. Tyler Ulis, Carl Towns, the freshman, providing another spark for Kentucky. Marcus Lee played his best game of the exhibition, and Alex Poythress may have been the star of the game. Another dominant win for the Kentucky Wildcats on this Big Blue Bahamas tour. They're 3-0 now, 93-57 the final. Jay and I are coming back to wrap things up after this.